The queen's chamber was a place of serene opulence in stark contrast to the rough-hewn hut in the dark forest. Sunlight filtered through arched windows, casting warm patterns on polished terracotta tiles. At its heart stood a raised hardwood platform bearing the royal throne, carved from a single block of dark Iroko, inlaid with brass and ivory, and crowned with motifs of songs and leopards. Cushioned in silk and studded with cowries, it seemed less a seat than a shrine. Along the walls, gold-threaded tapestries shimmered with ancestral triumphs, as though the kingdom's history itself watched over her queen. Queen Zara, the only child of King and Queen Abidan, had inherited the kingdom far sooner than she should have. As a child, she had dreamt of ruling. Being the first child of her parents meant she had been practically raised to sit on the throne. But a plague had brought tragedy too quickly. It swept through the kingdom, taking countless lives, including her beloved parents, and bringing about unfathomable suffering in the kingdom. The mages of the kingdom, led by the wise and powerful Maru, worked tirelessly to find a cure. He finally succeeded, but not before the king and queen were lost to the disease. Zara had been forced to ascend the throne while she was still a child, and she had to learn to grow up too quickly or risk being swallowed by the relentless politics of her kingdom. It was widely believed that a dark witch, one whose existence the kingdom had long denied, had cursed the land with the plague. Though her plan had been thwarted, the kingdom feared she would return. Because of this, Zara's reign was defined by a ruthless, no-tolerance policy on dark magic and a stern distrust for foreigners. Unlike her parents, who merely exiled practitioners, Zara decreed that all who practiced the dark arts were to be put to the flame. She even sent out witch hunter parties into the dark forest, and whenever they returned with a captured witch, the execution was made a public event. Now, with the kingdom stable and her rule absolute, the elders demanded she find a partner to rule alongside her. It was time for Zara to choose a king and begin the next generation of rulers, and suitors from every corner of the known world had come to behold her beauty and unforgiving power. Zara stood before a large, highly polished bronze disc that served as a mirror as her closest friend and advisor, Amara, adjusted the intricate folds of her silk gown. The fabric shimmered in the lamplight, its texture a whisper of foreign lands and far-reaching trade routes, marking it as a prize few outside the palace would ever touch. "I tire of this charade, Amara," Zara said, her voice a low sigh. "All these suitors, one pompous man after another, with their lineage as long as their list of demands, would have been nice to marry for love and not duty." Amara's hands paused for a moment on the queen's shoulders. Amara, a mage of grace and wisdom, was fiercely loyal to Zara, yet she was bound by the traditions of her people. "I don't see it that way. Why shouldn't it be for love and duty? They don't have to be mutually exclusive, you know." The queen gave her friend a look with an eyebrow raised. Amara laughed gently. "Perhaps you'll find a foreign prince before you today, one who looks and acts like the man in your dreams, and he would fall in love with you in just one gaze," Amara told her. "And what would this dark witch want for such an impossible ask?" Zara snickered. She rolled her eyes and moved away from the mirror, then sighed weakly as she stroked her dress. Amara moved closer to her queen and best friend. She knew she could never understand the pressure of making a decision that would affect the entire kingdom, and she wished in another life Zara would have all the time and opportunity she needed to meet the person who truly deserved this honor. But now, all she could offer was her support. "Your Majesty, you are not simply marrying, you know. You are binding yourself and your kingdom to a man, a union that would strengthen your rule. The burden of a kingdom is never meant for one person, no matter how resilient and powerful. You are going to need someone on your side, someone to become a part of you, to share this burden, someone to raise the next king or queen with, and to guarantee the prosperity of the kingdom. The elders and ancestors grow impatient. Zara turned to face her friend, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. The kingdom has stood strong under my rule alone. Amara smiled sadly, her eyes full of gentle understanding. No one within the four corners of the world doubts that, but the right person would make it even stronger, Zara. The right person perhaps is not a matter of feelings but of destiny. It is the will of our ancestors that you be wed. Your strength is not questioned, but your patience is wearing thin. Amara then stepped away, and from a small velvet pouch, she presented the queen with a necklace. It was a beautiful piece, featuring a large polished carnelian stone, its deep red-orange color glowing like a captured ember. The stone was set in an intricate frame of gold which had been meticulously crafted using a lost wax casting technique, a method that allowed for delicate glowing designs. "This is a gift from Maro, my former mentor," Amara explained. "He insisted you wear it today. It is a powerful protective charm that will ward off any malicious spells or charms from ambitious suitors or anyone who hopes to curse you while you are in the square." Zara took the necklace, gasping at its beauty. Her fingers brushing against the cold metal, a shadow of doubt crossed her face. "I don't trust him. He wants to be king, and his ambition is too great for a man of his age." "My queen, Maro has dedicated his life to this kingdom and to your reign. He saved us from the plague," Amara pleaded gently. "We know he intends to present himself as your suitor, but I know he wishes for nothing more than your safety. Please, for my sake, wear it. I would not ask you to if I were not certain it would protect you from harm." Zara looked at Amara's earnest face, her loyalty and genuine concern. She saw no trace of Maro's ambition in her friend's eyes. With a heavy sigh, she turned around so Amara could wear the necklace for her. "Very well, Amara, for you."
The air in Tari's hut was thick with the scent of burning herbs and the low hiss of the fire. Dafe sat on a low stool, a rough cloth draped over his shoulders as Tari stood behind him, a razor-sharp bronze knife in her hand. She was trimming his hair, a simple act that felt heavy with unspoken meaning. It was an act of preparation, a final touch on the boy she was forging into a king. She could feel how tense he was and hear his heart thumping in his chest. He was risking it all for a moment he didn't even have any control over. It will happen quickly, and no one will be aware of it. Tari's voice was a low hum, a constant undercurrent to the quiet of the hut. The queen's eyes must be the first to meet yours after the final ritual. To be safe, look at no one else, not the guard, not the elders, not even the commoners. Dafe's knuckles were pale as he gripped the edge of the stool. What if I fail? What if a powerful mage sees me and knows? Tari's hand paused, her knife still. She looked at him. That's not possible. But if you walk in fear and doubt, you are bound to make eye contact with someone else before the queen. If that happens, then the spell will have no power. The queen's mages will feel the lingering power of the spell on you and will know you are a threat. There will be no second chance for a boy like you. She returned to her work, her movements precise. The soft snip of the knife was the only sound for a long moment. "Have you figured out a way to get before the queen?" Tari asked, her voice a casual murmur. "The queen has a habit of making everything a public display of might and wit. It will happen in the square. The square will be heavily guarded. A commoner dressed as you are will be stopped long before they get close, and outcast doesn't even have a chance. Daffy turned to look at her in her eyes, his face a mixture of fear and stubborn determination. I have a plan. I'll find a way. A plan? Tari's voice was sharp, a low demand that cut through the silence. Your life is tied to my magic. Your success to my success. I hold stakes in whatever you do, boy. Tell me. Daffy told her how his mother had spent her savings on some clothes purchased from a foreign trader, unlike the rough spun cloth he was wearing. If I look nice enough, I might be able to sneak past the guards at the square without raising suspicion. They'll be watching for troublemakers, not for a suitor who might have lost his way. Tari's lips twitched and she quickly turned her face away to hide a smile. The simplicity of his plan was so foolishly human, so unlike the intricate sorcery she dealt in, yet it might just work. It was a gamble, but all great endeavors were. Be smart, she said, her voice a veiled warning. Do not fail. If you can succeed and hold up the end of the deal, I will give you a kingdom the likes of which has not been seen for centuries. A new golden age with no plague, no war, and no darkness. She finished with the final snip of the knife, letting the rough cloth fall from his shoulders. She held his chin in her cold hand, tilting his face up to look at him directly. A faint, almost imperceptible smirk crossed her lips. You're handsome now, Daffy. It will be a shame for that to go to waste. She brought him a small sealed gourd. The liquid inside was a dark, shimmering black. Drink this just before your appearance before the queen. Make sure to dispose of the gourd. When the queen's eyes fall on yours, she will give you a smile, and you will know you have a heart. She thrusted it into his hands and retreated to her table. I'll do everything that needs to be done from here. I'll be watching. With the gourd in hand, Daffy turned and walked out of the hut, disappearing into the dark forest without a backward glance. A moment of silence passed in the hut. The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows. From a dark corner, the python crawled out. It moved with a quiet grace, its mottled skin shimmering in the firelight. It slithered past the cauldron and the herbs and came to rest at Tari's feet. She looked down at it, a faint smile on her disfigured lips. He won't fail, Tari murmured, stroking the snake's head with her long fingers. Will he? Kumowe. The snake's head lifted as if in response. The boy is scared. He bears all the risk. He believes he walks a path of his own making, but he walks our path, and our future is tied to his success.